Hello again, everybody. It's my pleasure now to introduce Corinne Auder from Facebook, who's going to be talking about building a strong and resilient design community. Over to you, Corinne.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Jim. My name is Corinne Auder, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to build a strong and resilient design community through a shared sense of ownership and responsibility. I've been at Facebook for almost 2 years as a design program manager for a team of more than 200 people. I'm based in London and originally from Brussels in Belgium. Prior to Facebook, I have worked in creative teams like ASOS or in agencies. As a program manager, I drive initiatives that are a priority for EMEA and APAC design teams. I spend time understanding needs and knowledge gaps and develop creative solutions. I also manage and deliver diversity and inclusion programs for the London team, and I help create a community where people feel like they belong. When I'm not program managing, I also love spending time with my 11-year-old son, who is actually much happier than in this photo. And I'm also a proud volunteer vaccinator for St. John's Ambulance, so I spend my weekends vaccinating people against COVID. I'm going to talk to you about culture and community, and I will also give you 10 actionable steps you can take to build community. This presentation has been built so you can take screenshots of photos of the slides. There's also a few QR codes that link to reference sites, so get your phones ready. And there will be also a point where I'll ask you to contribute in the chat. So we can't talk about community without talking about culture. Both are often mixed up, but they go hand in hand. Culture is the rules of the workplace, and community is the relationships in that workplace that drive our sense of belonging. Creating culture means plan a certain ideal for your team and the workplace. You can also expect team members to follow the rules, written or unwritten, that make up that culture. But we all know that putting rules before people is the fastest way to make teams feel isolated. So a community, on the other hand, can adapt and evolve because it is guided by values rather than rules. A community also has the flexibility to reflect the personalities and interests of its members. Building community requires a goal-oriented, human-centric mindset. A community is also sustainable. It means that you can segment it as much as you like, and it still retains its authenticity and effectiveness. Facebook does these two things really, really well. And if you ask any employee, they will highlight these as important, if not the most important perk of their job. These are part of my everyday, and I have bottled them up into 10 themes and very actionable steps on how to get it right. So why is community important? As I said, it drives our sense of belonging. And why is that sense of belonging so important for your team? Well, it turns out that a strong sense of belonging leads to higher fulfillment, better performance, and longer retention. We collected data through internal employee surveys, and people who feel they belong to a community are more engaged and report higher overall well-being. Respect, feeling valued, belonging, and authenticity came as top themes that were important to Facebook employees. The first big step you can take is to start with the team vision. A team vision is different from a company mission statement. A mission statement focuses on what the company desires to achieve. For example, at Facebook, the company mission statement is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. Your team's vision is their why, the ultimate goal your team is pursuing. It promotes growth, both internally and externally, and also invites innovation. And this resonates very much with what Niels from Uncommon said earlier this morning. A purpose-driven team envisions success as a whole because they know what success means for them. Your team's vision can take form in a mission statement, a set of values, or long narrative. For Facebook design, for example, we have a long-form narrative, which is designing for the global diversity of human needs. It is comprised in 5 key messages that tell the story of what makes our community so unique. When giving your design team a clear why they can believe in, you give them a reason to show up every morning and decide to give their best. Give them something they can identify to, and that will help build cohesion within your team. You want them to work towards the same goal together. At Facebook, not only do we have a meaningful mission and vision, but we also talk about it all the time. We all feel that we are working towards the same thing, and most importantly, we can articulate it. So here are actions you can take. Articulate a vision or narrative for your team, and make sure your team understands how they are working towards the same goal. The next step is that everyone builds community. A lot of companies or teams tend to rely on one person, often in the ops team, if there is such a team, to look after the community. They make it one of their responsibilities among lots of others, like making the team more efficient, quality control, running the team's P&L, take care of the resource management, and general cheerleading. Hoping that by organizing enough side activity or book a table at a pub once in a while will do the trick, this is a mistake. Of course, social gatherings are important and needed for teams, and I'm totally ignoring COVID on this point for now. But no matter how much energy that person might put into this, they will struggle to achieve that goal on their own. Why? Because building community should be everyone's job. Also, not everyone wants to roll their sleeves up, but some people love being the engine, the fire that gets things started. And I'm sure you are already thinking about people on your team who could be the engine. Talk to these people, help them start small and give them responsibilities. Maybe it is organizing a lunch and learn. Someone is really good at something and could share their knowledge casually, or talk about that project that went really well and the learnings from it. Maybe you could invite a designer from another company to do a short talk about their work. Possibilities are really endless. It is very important to publicly recognize the initiative, talk about it, send emails about it, ask senior leadership to promote it, and most importantly, celebrate the person or team's involvement. Again, make it public, thank the person or people who were behind it. At Facebook, we have a little tool called the Thanks tool, which allows everyone to send a thank you to anyone who has made a difference in their day. And this goes against their performance review as well. Expressing gratitude and recognizing someone did something positive for you helps making work relationships more meaningful. One consideration when thanking people about their involvement in the community is to measure success and explain how this initiative helped the team reach their common goal. For example, by all becoming more proficient in using whatever software the team uses, we managed to deliver X% faster, or we've improved the quality. This is a very tangible result that the team achieved together. Finally, and the most important point, and I've mentioned earlier, make the community building part of people's work's objective and evaluation. In their performance review, ask them to demonstrate how they contributed to build a community that they are part of and rewarded. This is one of our objectives as individuals at Facebook. So here are the actions you can take. Identify the engines and give them responsibilities. Recognize and celebrate initiatives. Use positive reinforcement. Measure success and reward. The next step is to set people up for success. You want team members who know what they are doing, what is expected from them, and understand what their role is to reach your team and company's goal. This means you shouldn't leave any room for guessing, and this starts with your recruitment experience, the onboarding you offer, and the resources you make available, as well as how much support you give your team members. At Facebook, I run the design camp for EMEA and APAC. It is a 3-day training camp that gives new hires context about how we are structured, how we work together, how we communicate, and generally what is expected for their roles and The classes are also taught by team members. Train also your managers on how to welcome the new hires. Make sure they know how to build an onboarding plan that doesn't stop after the first week. We've all been in jobs where we are thrown in at the deep end, expected to read a short handover and go ahead with it. It takes so much effort and so much longer to be able to do your work in these conditions. Also, set your new team members for success by focusing on who they are, what they need, and what makes them tick. Ask them to tell you what allows them to do their best work, how they prefer to communicate, how they like to be recognized, and what are their main motivators. Understanding these factors are critical for the success of your new hires in the community. Lastly, it is weird to start a new job, and it's even weirder and more difficult to start a new job right now from home. If your company is lucky enough to be hiring right now or have hired recently, show your new colleagues some extra attention. This doesn't have to be only managers, it can be teammates who can reach out as well, and let them know you are there for them as a resource to ask any seemingly small question. That outreach will go a long way in your community building efforts. So the actions you can take: build a robust onboarding process, train your people managers, document work and processes, keep in touch, and get to know your new hire. The next step is to focus on diversity, inclusion, and values. A diverse team is a creative team, and you want a team that will, of course, deliver good creative work, but also be creative in finding solutions and exploring new paths together when it comes to teamwork and team life. Focusing on diversity in your team will allow new ideas to flow, enable healthy debates, and lean on each other, as not everyone will have the same set of skills and experience. Naturally, people are curious and want to discover, so make the most of this. And whilst we talk about diversity, a strong community won't tolerate hate speech, discrimination, or bias. You will need to make people feel welcome, no matter their differences, and make sure your community is inclusive. Work on listening for understanding, learning, and educating. It is important for anyone to feel safe in their workplace and in their community. Focus on creating spaces where people feel safe, voicing concerns, pointing out where you could do better, and debating approaches. And even further, pay people across gender, race, age, and sexualities the same wages. Going back to values, hire people for their values. Ask them what gets them out of bed in the morning, what life challenges or experiences have shaped them, and what makes them feel fulfilled and accomplished. Their core motivations are hints about what type of team members they will be. So practically, a diverse team is a creative team. Educate others and yourself, and hire people for their values. That little QR code in the corner will take you to the Facebook diversity site, where you can learn more about what is being done internally. The next point is personal growth is community growth. You won't have a community without people, and even your best people won't stay if you don't invest in their growth. Personal growth is community growth. Cooperation happens in a high solidarity organization only when the advantage of the individual is clear. Before doing anything, people ask, what's in it for me? So you need to be clear and show them that their personal growth and well-being is at the heart of your community. You will look after them and invest in them. Upskilling your team is one way of doing that. Invest in education and growth of the individual's knowledge base and skill set. Learn things that will help them do their job, but also learn about things that will make them better community members. How to be an ally, how to manage your biases, etc. You don't need to use external training companies that are often expensive and not always tailored to your needs. Peer-to-peer learnings is a great way to build community. One person's expertise is likely another person's learning opportunity. Since you are focusing on diversity, you will have team members with various skills who can teach each other And of course, it can go beyond your design or creative team. So actions you can take: always look for ways to upskill your team and use peer-to-peer learning. You can check that QR code. It will take you to our Facebook Managing Bias site, where you can also learn what we are doing internally about this. The next point is give your team the power. You'll have to trust your team. You have hired them for a good reason. They have the skills, they have the personality. They will do amazingly well if you enable them. Responsibility is based on ownership and objectives. When people own their goals, they think about achieving them differently. That is, with more passion than they would approach mere tasks on their to-do list. Share the decision-making process, so your team members actively think about how to improve, because company-wide improvement has become their joint responsibility. Give everyone the power to call others out, using the established values and behaviors of the community as standards. And as a manager, be their coach, their support. Get them to tell you where they want to take their career and how you can help them getting there. Your role is to help people grow, make a priority to remove roadblocks, and support them in becoming better at what they are doing. Also give responsibilities and not tasks. Show deep empathy and be flexible with people, especially in these times of working from home. So actions you can take: support your team, don't manage them. Give responsibilities, not tasks, and show empathy and be flexible with people. The seventh step, be the leader. Leadership isn't management. It isn't about a title. It is about influence. Leaders care for others, thanking them, supporting them, and they also initiate. To build a community, you need a team of leaders who are personally engaged in order to engage others, so that everyone can exercise initiative. It means that you who are listening now can be the leader and make a difference. You can help your team to become a community. Of course, if you are a people manager, you can also be the engine. Community building can also start with a group of committed managers looking at ways of improving things, bringing people together and enabling them. It is common to look for solutions outside of your team or organization, but look inside and leverage your own and your team's experience. Also, getting management's endorsement will make the whole difference. Managers can facilitate change. Be the leader that you want your team to be. So actions you can take: everyone is a leader, so lead by the example and enable others. The next step is to encourage authenticity. At Facebook, we encourage everyone to bring their authentic self to work. I welcome a new design starters every week, and with COVID, I have been doing so from my lounge. Like everyone, my colleagues have a bigger window on my life, and I have a bigger window on their life as well, and that's okay. Authenticity leads to empathy. And if anything, COVID might have helped us to be more empathetic towards each other. We all suffer from being at home, far from those we love, having sometimes to juggle work and homeschooling, not anymore. I have no problem to tell my manager, my co-workers, even those who I don't know that well, that today might not be a good day, that I'm struggling and that I need help or time or more space. The design community I'm part of at Facebook has really helped me this past year. I knew what the expectations were in terms of work, but I also knew I had the space to breathe, take a step back, slow down and talk to people. Within our community, we have so many groups available, from mental health to dog lovers to coffee aficionados. There is a place for everyone to listen, share, and be themselves beyond work conversations. The actions you can take: firstly, encourage people to be themselves. Don't force it. Let them share whatever they feel comfortable sharing. Not everyone is happy to open a huge window on their lives. And lead by example. then you'll have to give them space and start small. It is likely that we will have to create the space for people to share beyond teamwork. I mentioned earlier organizing social events at the start, saying that it wasn't enough to build community. Of course it isn't, but you will need to allow your team to spend time together and bond. As we're all stuck at home at the moment, it seems trickier, but there are still ways to organize time where people can relax, share, and discuss. Give people forums to discuss what really matters to them. People trust people they know, and they want to build friendships and relationships. And especially at the moment, as we are all craving social contacts. Put the pressure of delivering work aside for a moment and allow people to come together with no other expectation. I'd love to pause for a second and ask you to think about what you could do tomorrow for and with your team. Something really easy to organize. You could set up something tomorrow and do it. If you have it, it's great. Post your idea in the chat. I'd love to see what you are maybe already doing with your teams as well. Also remember, you can start small. Small team initiatives will promote change. They will become examples for other groups that will help grow the community. Commitment is contagious when people realize the benefits not only for the organization, but to themselves. Practically, the actions you can take: non-work related workshop, interest-based groups, discussion circles, coffee morning, whatever you fancy organizing, possibilities are endless. And we're already at the 10th point. This step is really important. Ask and be ready for change. You shouldn't guess what your community and your team needs or wants. Just ask them. Open forums, run polls, ask for opinion, send out surveys, create a council maybe that can be consulted on a regular basis and be the voice of the team. Find ways to keep a finger on the pulse and know how people are doing. If your community isn't happy, you will quickly notice the change. So the actions you can take: provide opportunities for the team to share their opinion. Be ready for change. Not everything you'll try will stick. You will have to try and try again. You'll have to adapt. That's okay. Also be ready that maybe something that worked doesn't work anymore, and you might have to find something new. People crave novelty. So even things that worked in the past might stop working at some point. And be quick. Don't wait to make changes. And don't look for perfection. Just jump in it and organize something. So to recap and conclude, we've covered a lot of stuff in this presentation. So here are the 10 steps to build a strong and resilient design community again. Have a team vision. Remember that everyone builds community. Make sure you set people up for success. Focus on diversity, inclusion, and values. Personal growth is community growth. Give your team the power. Be the leader. Encourage authenticity. Give space and start small. Ask and be ready for change. And I'll conclude with a reminder that when it comes to building community, the journey is as important as the destination. Being able to say we have a strong community is an ever-evolving, ever-shifting goal that you achieve through the journey of building and continuing to iterate based on the needs, interests, and goals of the humans within your team and community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Corinne. That was inspirational. We got quite a few questions. Some of them are around how do you build a community remotely, which seems like a kind of weird question to ask somebody from Facebook who do that as their day job. But any personal tips you have would be really helpful, I think.
Sure, it's really interesting because you know, all the things that we were doing in the office in person have moved very quickly online, and actually quite a lot of things already existed online because we are so spread out on different continents that we already do these things. So, you know, organizing, of course, it's yet another Zoom call. Of course, it has to be based, you know, on, you have to be behind your computer, but we still have, you know, conversation groups. We still have creative workshops. We have a team that organizes creative workshops for teams, just purely for bonding and social activities. So these things carry on. And we really focus also on helping people making connections, especially when they start, and have, you know, you don't get the opportunity to bump into someone when you make your coffee in the kitchen anymore, and create these have these organic meetings or connections happening. So we try to facilitate them by putting people who don't know each other in the same activity. And get to know each other.
Great. Okay, thank you. I've got a creative operations focused question here. How are program managers organized at Facebook? Do you have regular touch bases with others from around the world? It sounds from what you just said you do, but maybe you could just tell us a bit more specifically about program managers.
Sure. Well, it's a big team. We have very specific, so I'm attached to the product design team, and we have program managers who are very much focused on working with one product team, helping them delivering that product, very similar to what a project manager would do with a creative team, for example. And then we have program managers like myself who work with the entire community. And we are that team is centralized, so we all report into each other, and we have a big community of program managers. We have a summit every year where we talk about operations and how we work together and how to improve. We have chats and groups. We do office hours every week as well, where we can exchange and learn from each other.
Great, excellent. And Natalia asked that some teams are worried. In her example, some teams are worried that team building will take their time from time spent working to deliver, and they're kind of reluctant to take part because they're under pressure. And do you have any advice, Natalia was wondering, on how to help them kind of separate the daily kind of pressure from the time that's needed to bond in this way? And is it about time, or is it about an attitude of mind, or what?
Yes, I was. That's exactly it. It starts with what are you expecting from your teams, and you know, as I mentioned at Facebook, building community is one of the points we are evaluated on. So it's part of our performance review. How much do I give to the community? And even leaders, managers, everyone contributes, whether it's teaching to others, whether it's presenting, whether it's organizing something. And it becomes then part of the day-to-day, and it's as important as the delivery aspect of the work.
Okay, so as experts, another question here from Jim Wilson. As experts in online communication and communities and so on, have you got any tips for avoiding Zoom fatigue?
At the moment, it's so difficult because that's the only way we all communicate. So I'd say, when possible, actually, you know, with your team, move away from Zoom, go on a walk and do just a call. Rather than using video. You know, the one-to-ones you have, these are really small meetings, and that you can transfer to just a call rather than a video. But unfortunately, I think we are all there. We need sometimes to, you know, sit behind your laptop, and it is tiring. But organize also these activities that are not work related, even if they're on Zoom, where people can just chat and don't have to talk about work. It's very relaxing and help people to forget about the fact that they are speaking, you know, through a screen.
Yeah, great. That's really helpful, Corinne. Thank you very much.